share your thoughts, concerns, and questions. We genuinely want to hear your input, and we'll take these valuable insights to various stakeholders in our community for thoughtful responses. Our aspiration is for these community forums to become a regular occurrence, serving as a platform for all stakeholders, including elected officials, to better understand and connect with the community they serve. This format provides the community to respond and collaborate in ways that foster trust and cooperation. While we extended invitations to many elected officials, regrettably, some were unable to attend for various reasons or non-RSVP. Nevertheless, we express our gratitude to Senator Robinson, Marysville School Board Directors Beth Boyden and Eliza Davis, and Ron Friesen from Best Schools Marysville, and I think I see another representative back there as well. Dawn, thank you for being present this evening. Now, I'd like to introduce Courtney Ramirez, a representative of the Pilchuck Uniserv Council. She will guide us through a presentation detailing the current budget situation of the school district. After the presentation, we'll open up the floor for questions and comments regarding the information presented. Should time allow, we'll proceed to an open mic session where you can share any additional thoughts, concerns, or questions you may have. Please be aware that we aim to conclude tonight's event promptly at 8:30. Furthermore, we are delighted to have Elizabeth Alejo, our Spanish interpreter, with us tonight. Please pause during comments to allow her to provide periodic interpretation for our Spanish community members, both here and online. Once again, thank you for your presence and engagement. Let's work together to build a stronger and more collaborative Marysville community.
Buenas noches y gracias por acompañarnos en el primer foro comunitario organizado por la Coalición Comunitaria de Marysville. Mi nombre es chng.it y fundador de la Coalición Comunitaria de Marysville. Esta noche están presentes conmigo varios representantes de nuestra coalición. Como grupo recién establecido, nos hemos unido por una preocupación por el estado actual de nuestra distrito escolar de Marysville. Si bien nuestro grupo aún no se encuentra en las primeras etapas y mantiene una estructura informal, nuestro es solicitar nuestra presencia en esta comunidad y a través de los objetivos tangibles pueden ayudar a mejorar las relaciones de las instituciones comunitarias y nuestros valiosos miembros. Esta noche tenemos un objetivo específico: presentar a nuestra comunidad una visión alternativa y transparente de presupuesto del distrito. Después de esta presentación nos animamos a compartir sus pensamientos, inquietudes, preguntas. Realmente queremos escuchar sus comentarios y llevaremos estos valiosos conocimientos a varias partes interesadas de nuestra comunidad para obtener respuestas. Nuestra aspiración es que estos foros comunitarios de formato habitual sirvan como plataforma para que todas las partes interesadas comprendan mejor y se conecten con la comunidad. Este formato les brinda la oportunidad de recibir y colaborar de manera que fomenten la confianza y la cooperación. Si bien invitamos a muchos funcionarios electos, lamentablemente algunos no pudieron asistir por diversas razones o confirmaron su asistencia. Sin embargo, expresamos nuestra gratitud al senador Robinson y la directora de la Universidad de Marysville, Beth Boyden, y Eliza Davis por estar presentes esta noche, y por supuesto Ron Friesen de Mejores Escuelas de Marysville. Ahora me gustaría presentarles a Courtney, representante del Consejo Universitario de Pilchuck. Ella nos guiará a través de una presentación que detalla la situación presupuestal actual del distrito escolar. Después de la presentación habremos preguntas y comentarios sobre la información obtenida. Si el tiempo nos permite, procedemos a una sesión de micrófono abierto donde podrá compartir cualquier pensamiento y que pueda tener. Tenga en cuenta que nuestro objetivo es cumplir el evento de esta noche junto a las 8:30. Una vez más, gracias por su presencia y compromiso. Trabajemos para que merezca más fuerte y colaborativo.
Okay, hello everybody, I'm Courtney. It's nice to see everybody here tonight. We're going over the MSD budget because since the spring of last year, there's been some discrepancies in how they're spending, what they're spending, how much money they have, how much money they're getting, and we wanted to create a space where we were reviewing the documents that they provided to the state.
Buenas noches. La razón por la que estamos aquí es para hablar del dinero, cómo se está gastando en el distrito escolar. Ha habido muchas abnormalidades que se gastan, el dinero, no sabemos lo que está pasando. Entonces, este es un foro abierto para que puedan hacer preguntas y para poder comprender lo que está pasando.
I just want to reiterate that these documents are not ones that any particular group has made. It's not documents from the unions, it's not documents from an outside party. These are documents that were submitted by the school district to the state.
Nada más quiero clarificar que esos documentos que voy a presentar, nadie los hizo, no son hechos, son documentos que el distrito escolar nos provee.
So the first slide we're going to start with is in the summer before the district claimed that they were in a budget crisis, or after they claimed that they were in a budget crisis in June, they did a budget extension. And a budget extension is when they say, okay, the projected expenditures that we had planned for at the beginning of the school year, those are not going to be sufficient for how much money we actually are spending.
Lo que estamos hablando es lo del verano pasado, una proyección de los gastos que nos dieron. Fue algo que nos dijeron que se iba a gastar, pero en realidad se va a gastar más de lo que ellos proyectaron.
So I want to start with the current budget, which is, I'm starting with last year's budget to make sense of all of this so everyone can get a good understanding. But this was the original budget that the district had for the 22-23 school year, with a total expenditure of $184,851,933.
Nada más para clarificar que este fue el budget como empezamos el año. Está apuntando a esos 1,084,851,933.
I want to point out in this budget that they estimated to spend $14 million in supplies and materials and $18 million in purchase services. Supplies and materials is for students and the instructional program, and purchase services can be consultants, agency staff helping out with special education and other services that the district brings in to do that are not district employees.
Quiero que noten que dijeron que iban a gastar 14 millones en materiales y programas de la escuela y 18 millones en otros servicios.
So you can see that during the budget extension, they increased their projected supplies and materials expenses by $4.8 million.
So ellos añadieron 4 millones, que es lo que iban a gastar en materiales.
So they're saying we need to spend more money on student supplies. They also increased spending for certificated salaries and employee benefits payroll. These are teachers and administrators, and that's the benefits they get along with their salaries.
Okay, la parte de arriba de 2,891,036 es la parte de los salarios, y la otra parte de 277 con 642 es la parte de salarios clasificados.
So there was a total of $10.9 million increase to the total expenditures for the 2023 school year.
So, añadieron 10.960.150 aparte de lo que ellos habían estimado que iba a haber. So, aumentaron 10.960 en los gastos.
So it equals adding the $10.9 million to $4 million as previously expected to spend. They had a projected expenditure amount of $112,000.
Añadiendo las dos cantidades, damos la cantidad de 105.812.83, añadiendo lo que ellos ya tenían más los 10 millones que añadieron para los gastos.
Okay, we're gonna go to the next slide. So this is budgeted revenue versus actual revenue. We can see here, this is called the F-196 budget. This is the link that people can click on to find that document. They projected they were going to get $180 million in revenue, but they actually ended up getting $182.5 million in revenue, which was an unexpected increase of $1.9 million.
So, este documento que se llama es de revenue, se muestra cómo en vez de obtener 180 millones, 2.000 millones, que obviamente incrementó por 1.976.2.
So that was a good thing, we got more.
So, ahí se nota que hablamos más de lo que se esperaba.
So next I want to go over what they spent last school year, because they increased the budget, so they projected to spend more money. We saw that they increased their supplies and materials by $4.7 million. So when we look at what they budgeted, this is the new budget that we just reviewed with the extension. When you add supplies and materials, you can see 2.8. We can see 2.2. But when we look at their actual spending, they only $8 million of the $18 million that they thought they would spend in supplies and materials.
So, como podemos ver, ahí está todo lo que se gastó, los gastos que se esperaban, aumentaron, ahí está el gasto de 18 que se iba a gastar después vemos en el actual 2023 que se gastaron nada más 8 millones. Eso quiere decir que 10 millones no se gastaron.
So if you look back to the previous document, we saw that the original budget was for 14 million. So why did we increase it by 4.8 million when we only spent 8 million?
Como miraron en las páginas anteriores, lo incrementó 4 millones, que obviamente de 18 millones, pero al final lo que se terminó gastando fue 8 millones.
You can see that we underspent the new budget, the new expenditure line item by about 2 point something million. So they thought we would end at 105, we ended the school year spending only 197.
Como pueden ver, esperaban que se iba a gastar un millón, 195 millones, pero en realidad gastamos menos. Nada más se gastaron 190 millones.
Now we're going to talk about beginning fund balances. So whenever we start a school year, the beginning fund balance is the money that we start with in the bank. This can be cash on hand, this can be inventory, this can be different materials, we have curriculum, storage somewhere, so it's not all cash, but in this case, it's flow cash.
Esta página es el balance de la escuela. Esto es bien, puede ser activo, puede ser cualquier otra cosa, ¿no? Pero es el balance que empezamos a.
So I want to add, when you look at the actual total beginning fund balance for the 21 school year, it was $19,170,920. They then ended that school year with $20 million in their fund.
Como pueden ver en el año 21-22, gastaron 19 millones, terminamos con 20 millones 59 mil.
So that means for the 2023 school year, last school year, we started the school year with $20 million in our.
Eso quiere decir que en el 2023 empezamos con 20 millones en el banco para la escuela.
So the district assumed that by the end of the 20 school year, even though we started with $20 million, they thought that we were going to end with $5.5 million.
Entonces, la escuela pensó que empezamos obviamente con 20 millones que íbamos a terminar.
That was assuming they were going to spend their budget by $1 million. So when they created the new 2024 budget, they assumed that they were going to start with less in their that they overspent and went deficit in the 22 school year by roughly 18 or 19.
Eso quiere decir que el presupuesto del 23-24, ellos estimaron que iban a empezar solamente por un millón. Eso quiere decir que en el 2023, donde están los 18 que no es de 20,000 a 1.
So now we're going to look at what the district actually ended up with last school year, so we can see what they started with versus how much they actually overspent and dipped into their funding. See what they actually ended up with for the beginning of this school year.
Lo que vamos a hablar es lo que gastaron el año pasado con lo que terminaron, lo que ellos estimaron que íbamos a.
So when we look at their final budget, beginning budget, this is not what they actually spent. They assumed that they were going to be overspent with $2 million, which would they had other revenue sources, which would it would put in $810,000 into that, which would mean that they were actually only paying $4 million. But again, they had $20 million in the bank. And again, they said that they would end the school year with $5.5 million.
So, como vemos, yo ahí donde dice es el presupuesto con el que obviamente no hay, pero vemos que eran otros recursos de $800,000, ¿verdad? Entonces terminaron terminaron el año escolar en 20 millones. Entonces, eso quiere decir que tenemos.
But if we remember, we had that budget extension, and the budget extension automatically took out $10 million from the fund balance. So if we take out $10 million out of the $20 million, we ended the school year with a positive $9.8 million.
Pero se acuerdan que ¿verdad? Si retiramos los 10 millones de los 20,000, de los 20 millones que estaban, terminamos con un balance de 9 millones. Tuvimos haber terminado
this $9.8 million is our beginning fund balance for the 23.
Esos 9 millones es lo que vamos a ganar nuestro presupuesto para el año.
So I want to talk about enrollment and FTE. So FTE is the amount of individuals higher than the school district that you have classified as, which are your parent educators, bus drivers, food service staff, you have your HR analysts, you have what other people that are classified.
So en esta página vamos a hablar de FTE son las personas que trabajan de base, esto, o algunas personas que están clasificadas.
The certificated portion of the FTE numbers are for instructional certificated staff, those are teachers. That also includes your administrators. Some administrators are certificated and some administrators are not, and are in the classified section, which means that even though they are at a $200,000 level, the state still funds them at the classified level of $54,000 a year.
So, el FTA es algunos, si vemos el FTA son clasificados, algunos clasificados o FTA son, algunos tienen un certificado que son administradores institucionales, son algunos maestros que son clasificados y otros que no son clasificados. Ok, so si a alguien se le pagan $200,000 porque están en la clase clasificada, el Estado nada más les da los funda hasta so el distrito tiene que pagar.
So when we look at the numbers, we're going to focus on the FTE portion. For line, they budgeted to have 706 staff and 400. They ended the school year total individuals hired, FTE, so not headcount, FTE. They ended the school year with only 704 certificated staff and 387. You can see there's a large savings between, because less people equals less expenditure.
Okay, como podemos ver, empezamos el 22 de personas certificadas administrativas y institucionales, 425 clasificadas y ahorita lo tenemos 104 institucionales y administrativos juntos están en 4 y 377 clasificados. Eso quiere decir que deberíamos estar hablando de estamos menos de lo que ellos están.
When we look at this school year, we see that the district estimated to have 759 staff and 400 classified staff. If you all remember, we had a reduction in force this year and last year. So if we're going to have a reduction in force of almost all of your educators and almost the same certificate staff, why would we have a budget with more than last year?
Okay, so para el año 2024 tenemos 713 personas clasificadas, ¿verdad? Ahorita actualmente son 27. Si se recuerdan, el año pasado han los empleados, entonces, porque ellos están afirmando que vamos a tener menos.
So throughout the school year, the school district has to send a S-275 report to OSCI. And that reports all of their FTE between the dedicated group and the classified group report how many people they actually have at the school district.
So ellos tienen un que pueden conseguir un cuenta con OSTI y pueden ver y ahí pueden ver a las personas afectadas.
So for their 275 for the October snapshot, they reported 670 certificated staff and 418 classified. And when you compare what we did to what we actually have, there's quite a bit of difference.
So, si ellos estaban pensando, este documento de OSTI, 400. Podemos ver que hay una gran diferencia en el número de gente que está registrada y está certificada.
When we look at how much the average salary is for classified and certificated, the math, and came up about that the reduced actual staff members was 12.6 million district going to spend out of the budget that they.
Si podemos hacer matemáticas, podemos ver que el distrito debería de estar ahorrando o no gastando 12 millones en sueldos para las personas.
So this is a comparison chart of the 21-22 actual expenditures compared to the 22-23 actual expenditures. And what I want people to look at is focus on how salaries seem to be within a normal range of increase and are comparable to the year previous, because you have similar population, you have similar staff being hired, and similar expenditures for instruction.
Si podemos ver, esta es una gráfica para comparar los años escolares. En el 2022 podemos ver que se puede, con el 2022, se puede ver que están locales la misma populación, pero los gastos fueron similares a los cambios en el dinero.
So when you look at the 23-24 budget, if we're in a budget deficit and we cut lots and lots of staff and we have lower enrollment, then why are we expecting to spend more money this year, almost in all of the categories, when we have less certificated staff, less classified staff, which means less benefits going out to employees?
Ok, so nuestra pregunta es al 2023. Ellos ven, si vemos salarios, tenemos personas trabajando para el y tenemos, ponen a ver la gráfica en todas las secciones, ellos están gastando más dinero cuando tenemos ya que podemos parar ahí, ellos están gastando 10 millones más en cosas materiales para los estudiantes. Tan solo son cercanos, pero más, sin embargo, tenemos menos que son clasificados y que los salarios estén porque tenemos menos.
So I want people to look at supplies and materials budget. In 21-22, they spent 7. Last year they spent 8. And again, this year they're projecting that they're going to spend $18.9 million, which is an increase of $10.9 million. But we don't know what they're going to spend that money. Because when they ask, they say that's where we store money. But how do you store money that don't have.
So, como les expliqué, ellos están proyectando que van a 10 millones más en útiles para, o materiales para los estudiantes. En realidad, no sabemos cómo van a gastar los 10 millones. Ellos lo que han dicho es un lugar donde se puede como acomodar el dinero, se puede guardar el dinero, pero en realidad nuestra pregunta es, ¿cómo lo van a guardar? ¿Cómo nos vamos a gastar 10 millones en materiales para los estudiantes?
I also looked at the budget extension from June. Remember, we increased the budget from 184 million to 102 million, even though we're supposed to be reducing the budget. But now the budget is $13 million more than what we spent last year. But we're also still missing the levy payment, and we have less staff and less students. So why are we projecting to spend $13.7 million more when we have a reduced educational program?
Aquí estamos viendo que el año pasado, ¿verdad? Terminaron 192. El año que viene, ellos están proyectando millones, pero si recordamos, tenemos una extensión de junio, terminamos obviamente con 13 millones más. Ahora, todavía no llegan, todavía en el budget, en los gastos, entonces ese dinero, eso es lo que estamos tratando de ver, dónde se va a poner todo ese dinero.
It also doesn't make sense, I think, there were salary increases. There was a COLA that was pushed down from the state on the state-funded salary amount per the area, each different percent. And so when people did get their raises, there was also money to fund a portion of those raises. So it's not all coming out of the levy pocket. There was a IPT, which was 3.7, or it was a 3% increase. So all of the money that the state gives the school district to function, all of that money increased by that amount. So they got more of a boost as well. And we're not saying that they got like a ton of money, but it does help compensate for the levy loss that we had. So there was a $9 million roughly increase from the state funding, but we lost 13 million. So you can see that there would be about a $4 million deficit. So it's not as drastic as what I've seen this year, but you can see that if we have less staff, that's quite a bit of money. That's quite a lot more money for a raise that partially funded.
Okay. So, lo que estoy tratando de explicar es que tenemos obviamente mucho menos gente que está trabajando. En realidad, terminamos de 9 millones, dinero de ley todavía no ha venido. Entonces estábamos negativos a 9 millones. Estamos en una de 4 millones, así como lo están explicando en la escuela. Necesita haber un cambio o una etapa donde vamos a ver una pérdida de dinero, porque terminamos negativos, pero no es como ellos nos están explicando. Sí va a llegar a pero como ellos están estimando que van a estar menos maestros, menos no sé cuántos materiales. Eso es lo que estamos viendo, lo que estamos tratando de entender y lo que queremos que ellos nos expliquen. Porque sí puede que haya una reducción de gastos, pero no tan drástica como ellos nos están expresando. Eso es más que nada nuestra preocupación.
So as you can see here, what I see, what a couple other people here have seen is that the budget is inflated and the district is not able to explain what they are spending this money on in these line items that have increased so drastically. There's no purchase services that we've seen, there's no staffing that hasn't been included. This, you can't make sense of why the numbers are.
Ok, como vuelvo a mencionar, no entendemos el dinero o ellos están esperando buscar más dinero de los años anteriores y ahora tenemos menos empleados, menos estudiantes. Eso es lo único que estamos tratando de entender. ¿Cómo es que van a gastar todo el dinero con menos?
And if we go back to July, when that very initial budget thing, and the district put out that the deficit went from 12 million, 8 million, to 25 million, 28 million, we said, whoa, what's going on here right now? And we looked at their projected staffing estimates, and they were even higher than what they are currently. And once we discussed that with them, miraculously, the deficit turned it back into 17.5 million. So how you budget does create whatever your deficit is going to be.
Lo que estamos viendo y se acuerdan en julio cuando estaban hablando, claro, los gastos que iban a tener fueron incrementando
18.
So, eran como, nos empezaron a decir que eran 12, 25. Esperen que es lo que está pasando, ¿verdad? Cómo va a incrementar tanto los gastos cuando tenemos estudiantes más. Fue cuando terminaron y dijeron, bueno, va a ser como más o menos 17 millones que vamos a gastar. Pero fue cuando nos dimos cuenta y tuvimos que preocuparnos que estaban dando tanto los gastos.
So you can see this is why we're very concerned. And that's the end of that. We want to do questions? Do people just want to raise their hand? I can run over.
Okay, este fue el final de nuestra presentación. Si quieren hacer preguntas, si tienen preguntas,
I don't know if this is asked, but that overinflated line of the table, that's where they stockpile their mattress. Is there a purpose for stockpiling a mattress? Is it, will it reflect on more funding somewhere? No, right? Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Bueno, lo que la señora está preguntando es, ¿se acuerdan de los 18 millones que estaban gastando? Era como la forma de guardar el dinero, le llamamos que guardan el dinero abajo del colchón. Lo que ella está diciendo es, ¿hay otra manera de guardar el dinero o cómo es que?
Yeah, so the question was, why would they pocket money in one line item? Does it benefit them in some way? And no, it does not benefit them in a way, because when a district is, when they're making their budget, you want to put your money where you actually think you're going to spend it. So by padding it, it creates a inflation in your spending, which kind of off-puts how much you're going to spend. If you just use money in the account, you're not really budgeting. You're just continuing to give money where maybe money should be given.
Ok, lo que ella está diciendo es que a veces pensamos que si, por ejemplo, ponen algún dinero del presupuesto para lo que ellos empiezan a gastar, a veces les beneficia, pero en este caso no beneficia, no entendemos por qué ellos tienen que poner ese dinero en esa línea que supuestamente son materiales para los estudiantes. En realidad, el dinero lo pueden mover constantemente, no necesariamente se tiene que poner en una línea o se va a gastar para esto. No hay.
I also work in other school districts, and I look at budgets a lot, but I'm answering the questions as best I can. We have 2 other people here too, so if I say something that doesn't sound right, let me know.
I just wanted to that thought. When you look at the, $10,000 increase and what, or 10 million, sorry, $10 million increase and what was actually spent that year prior, right? It kind of covers up the fact that they went over budget in other areas by roughly $5.5 million, and I kind of pieced together.
Okay,
So I think they could be potentially hiding the fact that they might go over budget in salary areas later to with that, and then oh look, I'm in 2 million under.
okay, lo que está preguntando y lo que está, es una idea solamente la señora, no, que a lo mejor los 10 millones que ellos estaban poniendo, a lo mejor los gastaron en otra cosa o los gastaron como para cubrir algunas de las áreas de las líneas, ya sea en salario o en otra cosa, y a lo mejor otros como 2 millones más en esta área, ¿verdad? Y de ahí, pues, obviamente, los estarían los 2 millones.
It could make it look like you were coming in under budget overall, but you have to like say your question again. I'm sorry,
I guess, does it look better that they came under budget altogether? See their potential coming over budget in more areas and supplies.
I think that it creates a sense of, it scares people. It scares people to think, oh my gosh, we have no money. So we're gonna start taking money from here, we're gonna start taking money from here, and we're gonna just start saving everything because we're gonna expend this much money. And then in the school year, when they don't spend it, they look better because they didn't spend that much money. It looks like it's actually saved the budget situation. But there's no benefit to budgeting state money in a way that is transparent to the public. Because if you put a bunch of money in supplies and materials or purchase services, then you can spend that money however you want because you're not spending it on salaries.
Ok, so aquí la idea, lo que se aparentemente a lo mejor el distrito trató de, o está tratando de hacernos pensar que el dinero que están, que no tienen suficiente dinero, ¿verdad? Pero en realidad, o sea, para ellos aparentar así, pues, no tenemos dinero, pero simplemente que el dinero del Estado lo tienen que, o sea, es dinero del Estado y tienen que ser transparentes cómo se está gastando el dinero. Da más miedo a la gente o no hay dinero, obviamente la gente se preocupa, pero ellos a lo mejor tomaron la decisión incorrecta, ¿verdad? Y poner es decir, que todavía estar en la tierra.
So currently, I can just tell you this too, is like on the monthly status reports, because they have to pass those every month to the board. They say, okay, we have our baseline budget, 206 million, but we're actually going to move some money from salaries into purchase services, but we're not going to say why. And then we're not going to tell you what we're going to spend on purchase services. But say that they started encumbering a bunch of purchase services invoices, purchase orders. Then when we say, oh, we're going to negotiate or someone needs money or someone needs salaries, then they could essentially just say like, over here.
So lo que nos está explicando es que lo que les mencioné, ellos pueden estar poniendo o gastando, moviendo el dinero básicamente en las líneas que tenemos que áreas para gastar el dinero que pudieron haber puesto en, supongamos, los salarios, obviamente lo pudieron haber gastado, ¿verdad? con otros, con recibos de terminalidad. Es para que ellos también digan, el dinero se gastó en esta área y cuando nos preguntemos, o ya no está ese dinero, se gastó en esta otra cosa.
Why isn't there transparency in that exchange?
I don't think I can answer that. I don't know.
La pregunta que hicieron fue por qué no hay transparencia en los recibos de cada mes, ¿verdad? Entonces no lo sabemos esa respuesta.
I think it would be up to the school board members to ask why that money moved from the original budget line items that were passed and submitted to OS.
Creo que sería una pregunta de la mesa directiva del distrito, de que ese dinero se movió de una parte hacia la otra parte.
I don't know. I think, yeah, behind Debbie, right? Yeah.
So you pointed out that part of the classified staff were actually correct. And I know that a lot of folks did, and that they go. They're extremely short, the parapet building. And that is a way for them to have that and make it look like we're not talking. When in fact we are. We've got, had a communications director. We have all these other high-paid people that were brought in by the state, or finance director, yeah, and they keep on saying that we're not having that, and it's sending nice messages. We're super short, right? And in fact, paying exorbitant fees in subcontracting because that's raw and.
Ok, lo voy a decir bien resumido. Pero lo que ellos están diciendo es que obviamente tenemos ¿verdad? Y reciben obviamente un sueldo, pero ahora no tanta gente que está clasificada o certificados, ¿verdad? Para que ellos estén clasificados.
So my question has been, when these get upset about the levy, why is that levy being counted towards the budget? Not.
Ok, la pregunta de ella es ¿por qué el dinero del levy se va a ir al presupuesto? Supuestamente el dinero del levy no tiene que ser contado para el presupuesto, ese es el dinero extra.
So local funds are local, state, federal, and different federal purpose and grants are all included. The levy money is all included in that.
But the levy goes to us was to work and things like that, and then it's actually being true.
Ok, la respuesta que nos dieron es que el dinero local, federal y estatal y todo eso, las becas y todo eso que es parte de los gastos.
Those expenses also come from the athletics, different school, that will come from the general fund. Yes. She said yes, but those things aren't being done.
Ok, lo que nos volvieron a preguntar es por qué lo que nos dijo ella que todos los gastos, todo el dinero son gastos generales. La señora nos preguntó, ellos prometieron el año pasado, cuando si pasaba el levy, no iban a quitar los deportes, las actividades curriculares, pero en realidad, pues sí se van a quitar.
I have less of a question and more materials and supplies increase. I'm a teacher here in Marysville, and one of our main concerns is that our budgets have been completely frozen, and we have been supplying our
Ella en vez de, no tiene una pregunta, simplemente es un comentario. Ella es una maestra y dice por qué está esa cantidad de materiales que supuestamente se van a usar. Ella es una maestra y dice que compra todos los materiales, grapas, el tape o el Durex. En realidad, dice, ella ha preguntado por qué no lo pueden comprar en la escuela y dice que porque ese no tiene dinero, básicamente. No entiende por qué tiene ella que proveer esas cosas cuando supuestamente hay dinero para comprar esas cosas.
Sorry, quick interruption, housekeeping. There are a couple cars that are blocking a staff member from leaving near the dumpster. So if you park your car near the dumpster, could you go run out there, quick peek? Is it me? I have no idea.
They couldn't hear the question online, so I'm just gonna repeat it. So, what was your name? Or, yeah. Kyla, okay. So Kyla was saying, you know, the materials and supplies budget is so large, but we're not able to purchase any materials or supplies for our classroom. So they're not allowed to purchase tape, paper, batteries, basic things for their classroom, but yet the budget is so large.
Lo que vuelve a comentar es que la cantidad del dinero para los materiales es grandísima, pero los maestros tienen que comprar sus propios materiales. En la escuela no les puede proveer nada porque no hay dinero, pero vemos que van a gastar sus propios materiales.
There is a small amount of this, but it's very limited.
Hay una cantidad, hay algunas cosas que sí se pueden comprar, que pueden comprar en la escuela, pero es muy, muy, muy limitada.
Yeah.
I guess my question is, I've been to lots of meetings, this is so wonderful happening tonight, I love it, feel like we did it first day of the rest of our life. But when you, I'm on a group club that is waiting on this disappeared and don't get there.
Ella nada más tiene una pregunta, ella dice que ella quiere saber cuáles son los siguientes pasos, ¿verdad? Porque ha estado en muchas juntas hablando del dinero y del presupuesto y todo, pero ella quiere saber cuáles son lo que vamos a hacer después.
I'll take that. Show up. Oh, yes, I'm sorry. So the question is, what can we do next, right? How can we affect some change? You're waiting on some funds, it sounds like, for potentially some, and I know your face, I think it's for, yes, okay. What's that? The money's there, it's not freeing it up for better. So thank you for that comment. What can we do? This right here, we're talking about it. We're engaging in conversation. We're engaging our community stakeholders so that they're aware that this community has a voice and it isn't going. We want transparency. We want to build that trust in this community. We are all members of this community. So let's show up. Let's make a ruckus. So we will. Yeah. Go ahead.
Lo que vamos a hacer, bueno, lo que nuestro siguiente paso es venir a las juntas, seguir apoyando, seguir preguntando, seguir reuniéndonos y hacer ruido para que ellos sepan que todos tenemos una voz.
And when we don't feel like we're being heard, we need. There's going to be people at the next community forum that are, as we're going to, until.
Y cuando no nos escuchan, ¿qué es lo que tenemos que hacer? Es ser más ruidosos o hacer más ruido. Vamos a seguir haciendo estas juntas y para la siguiente junta, gente no va a venir porque no vamos a parar de hacer alzando nuestra voz.
Does anybody else have specific questions about tonight? Otherwise, okay, thank you. Go ahead, Tom.
To what extent is the problem in Marysville uniquely Marysville? as opposed to a problem imposed on Marysville by a very effective state funding.
Lo que él está preguntando es que cuál será el beneficio y cómo va a ser la ciudad de Marysville hacer.
June's here too, and I know that she knows all these things. I'm just gonna, I just feel like, I'm doing her. The situation in Marysville is a unique one. When you talk to the state, there are school districts who are in deficit. They're in fighting conditions because they can't create a budget that is not made. But the uniqueness and extreme deficit that Marysville has found itself in, considering its large fund balance that started with last school year. This is a problem that is singularly Marysville.
Como podemos darnos cuenta, Marysville se distingue y entre todo el estado, varios distritos escolares están pasando por la necesidad económica, pero Marysville es único. Hemos comparado con el estado de varias ciudades y en realidad no hay simplemente cuando estamos con dinero, ¿verdad? Y ahora quieren decirnos lo contrario, simplemente necesitamos caridad.
Okay. I was also going to say that I think that the district announced that they found $5.9 million. It's a lot of money.
Wish I could.
Me too. And that those other districts who are inviting north of us, they're not finding $5.9.
This is the first time that they classified pets before last school year, and they met with us. They came to the table one time and they said, "Oh, we managed to shave $7 million. How do you shave $7 million in a week?"
Que la pregunta es, un comentario es que ahora encontraron, yo quisiera saber cómo se encuentran. En realidad, esas son las preguntas que tenemos. ¿Cómo pueden encontrarse? La señora comentó que el año pasado ella preguntó y dijeron, no, encontramos $7 millones. ¿Cómo puedes encontrar ese dinero cuando tenemos una administración? Tenemos que, si tuviéramos claridad en el presupuesto, no podrías encontrar $0.9 millones a la noche a la mañana.
What is the reason that they borrowed that $6 million and are having to pay that back? They had monies available.
La pregunta que ella hizo es por qué tuvieron que pedir si tenían el dinero. ¿Cuál fue la razón para pedir ese dinero pasado?
So there was money borrowed in June of last year. They didn't budget properly. They anticipated that they would. So they had to pay the loan back. And it cost us $38,000. It was a $6 million loan. We had it for 1 month.
Ok, ellos hicieron mal el presupuesto, ¿verdad? Y tuvieron que pedir prestado $6 millones el año pasado en junio. Esos $6 millones nos costaron $30,000 extra porque ellos estimaron mal.
But for this school year, they took out the same $5 million loan. But because they said that they weren't going to payroll because they didn't have enough apportionment from the state. But what they didn't tell everybody is that they had not received some of their apportionment from the state for their MLM program. That was roughly $2.something million, and they did not receive their Title I apportionment from the federal government because the application.
Okay, so, este año volvieron a pedir 5 millones, pero los pidieron y ellos no dijeron a la gente que iban a recibir un dinero como 2 millones algo de el programa de ML, que es el programa que ayuda a los estudiantes de segundo lenguaje, más aparte el título 1 también van a agarrar los fondos y tampoco lo dijeron. Eso es todo lo que dijo de los dos programas.
So when we talk about apportionment, that is cash flow that we're talking about. And so the overall budget is different than how much money we have by each, which is why I was saying that the apportionment because each month they get a payment. And if you don't have those payments, you're short on paying or you by that.
Ok, también se me olvidó mencionar algo, fue que no agarraron el dinero del título y de venderle pronto porque las aplicaciones las metieron tarde. Lo último que dijo es que
So we get here.
recibimos dinero del Estado. Eso sería el efectivo que tenemos.
Don't have the money.
Y si no recibimos dinero del Estado,
A gap in the money paid or paid by that.
entonces no tenemos los incentivos para pagar de la gente que se necesita pagar de ese dinero.
In the middle.
So like most of us, we know how much is coming in, and we're planning how much we spend now. Is that process done when the school district budget? Because that's not really required to be within, they have how much money is coming in, correct, for the year?
Yeah, let's.
Okay. So, su pregunta es si sabemos o si cuando hacemos un presupuesto hasta nosotros, ¿verdad? Sabemos cuánto dinero tenemos y más o menos estimamos o hacemos un estimado de cuánto dinero se va a gastar. Ella quiere saber si ellos están haciendo eso, porque si lo estuvieran haciendo no estarían básicamente pasando eso, porque estamos haciendo o estimando lo que vamos a gastar depende del dinero que tenemos.
So the question was, don't districts have to or from state and federal coming that they budget properly? And the answer is yes. Anytime like, there's changes or taking money away, rare. The state lets. So usually districts budget their revenue and how much they're going to by $1 million, which is why sometimes districts have to dip in maybe $2 million into their fund balance to cover revenue. But normally, yes, the district should budget how much revenue it's getting.
So lo que ella está explicando es que el distrito escolar sí saben, o cuando sí saben cuánto es lo que tienen, cuál es el balance, a veces puede fallar como por 2 millones para llenar como los otros gastos, ¿verdad? O lo que se tiene en mente en ese momento, pero ellos reciben toda la información del Estado, cuánto dinero van a ganar, cuánto dinero van a tener.
No, Amanda. Sorry, back.
Way back there.
My name is Amanda. I have a child. I had to take out a loan march this year because they don't have the staff.
Can you come up here with the mic so that we can have the people online hear you?
I'll try and keep it brief. My name is Amanda Eland. Sorry, that's my maiden name. Weird.
My name is Mara. My child, I was forced to pull him out of television because that he needs a one-on-one full time, and they do not have staff or resources to accommodate them. Right. I want to know. My question is if it is against the law for our school district to not accommodate our kids' IEPs, why is it that the parents are the first to get sacked when all of these administrators are getting thrown in with these very, cushy paychecks?
Ok, su comentario fue que ella tenía el Caleb Marsh y lo tuvo que sacar porque su programa y que es unidades especiales no lo podían, no tenían las formas correctas para cuidarlo. Lo que ella está diciendo es que si hay una ley en el estado que pueda o que puedan los padres unidades especiales obligar a las escuelas a tener el estado de cuidar de ellos. Ella dice que las ayudantes o las señoras o las ayudantes de maestras son las primeras que empezaron, pero son las primeras que cuidan de los y aparte les pagan muy poco.
So you're right, it's law. And if there are individuals who have students not being served according to their IEP, OSPI has resources where parents can submit a complaint. I know that there's multiple already submitted and is already taking place. But yes, they should have parent educators hired and available to serve students.
So sí es en contra de la ley que el distrito escolar no tenga las personas adecuadas o no cumpla con los requerimientos para unir actividades especiales. Se puede tener una queja de ya hay unas quejas que se han vendido y ellos ahí darían recursos para las familias.
Okay, you're next.
So, speaking
Karen,
of
do you want to come up?
Yeah, here.
My name is Karen and I'm representing another one of the in the school district that's actually pushing on the school district to find out why funds can't cut for our program. So my question is, speaking of the fund balance that is available, is it safe to assume there's probably money present in another portion of the budgets that may have been able to be used to cover salaries in December? So the money came from the states, we wouldn't have had to borrow money the exact same thing we don't.
Ok, su pregunta es si el distrito escolar pudo haber usado dinero para los salarios de los maestros para cubrir algunos gastos o de otros gastos cubrir los salarios de otros maestros, de los maestros y no se tuvo que haber pedido. Esa es la pregunta que ella tiene. ¿Se pudo haber hecho eso y se podría hacer el año que viene?
Maybe, but the monthly status reports are not clear. And so we can't tell what money is actually where at this point.
Podría ser que sí, pero no hay reportes cada mes. En realidad, sabemos que el dinero o en qué se ha gastado.
Ray, I'm coming to you.
Come on, Ray.
Well, the folks online need to.
Is anyone, back to the slide, the last one, that one. And that's your current meeting. The only thing I really complain about in July or August, they give you that, and decide that reading 5-7 minutes, they don't, it's supposed to be printed in the paper, let you know it's true, but they don't do that. They just put it in the agenda, hoping you can find it. So, my daughter let me know, I got off the golf course, fast as I could, running up there, just my issue, the issue that I have is, of course, this is the budget I'm spending. The revenue was supposed to be $220 million. $220 million. I was frustrated with it because now we're going higher. As we're going, we're going to be a quarter of $1 billion school district. And most, I know, you'll catch up. You stop me and I sit down, I'm not getting up again. And your kids and your grandkids are sitting in this close to that. So, what I have trouble with the director is not that, but they don't tell you about the $120 billion in revenue they have projected. So that number right there, that should be about. So where do you go? So as I go, if I say anything, I get my head shakes, it rolls her eyes, I can see it roll her eyes in the back of her head. But that, and I hope when it comes to someone can text me, don't worry, ready, keep all in, you don't have to do the hearing just to say something. But I was against the budget, and it's going to get worse.
Lo que dijo es que este distrito casi va a ser $250,000,000. Este papel lo muestran en la junta directiva en julio, lo ponen abajo para que obviamente no lo vean. Lo que básicamente como padres tenemos que hacer las preguntas, tenemos que asistir a la junta y decir, ok, ¿dónde están los del dinero? Básicamente hacer preguntas como padres preocupados por nosotros.
Would you like to come up?
No, I can do that.
Okay. We'll read it.
I was just curious, who is going to start holding them? What? Yeah.
Question was, who's gonna hold them accountable and what do we do?
La pregunta es que, ¿quién va a ser el responsable? ¿Cómo nos vamos a... ¿Quién va a ser el responsable de todo esto que está pasando? ¿A quién le vamos a echar la culpa, básicamente?
Faulty. We will. So we have elected school board officials that can be voted out if they don't listen to what our community says. We have elected officials in our city that can be elected out if they don't listen to the community. And there are state officials, district officials that can be voted out. So while we can't necessarily make those, the buck stops at the top of the district. And unless we all collectively use our voice and tell the school board what they don't hear, they haven't heard this entire, school year, however many years. If we don't start to use that voice and tell our school directors what our thoughts are, they aren't going to know. They're not going to know how we feel. So we need to use our voice. We need to email, show up to the school board meetings, and share the information with people who are not here.
Bueno, las personas, ¿quién nos va a hacer responsables? Nosotros. Nosotros somos las personas que tenemos que alzar nuestra voz tenemos personas que representan la ciudad, el estado, el distrito escolar que nos apoyan. Así ellas si nosotros no lo podemos hacer porque solamente ellos lo van a hacer. Nosotros lo que tenemos que seguir haciendo es seguir alzando la voz, ir a las juntas de la mesa directiva, no dejar, porque si esperamos 10 años más, esto va a seguir mientras nosotros no hablemos y no apoyemos. En realidad, este es nuestra voz, son nuestros hijos, es nuestra comunidad y sobre todo tenemos que ser partícipes a ir a todos los eventos que sean necesarios para que nosotros podamos decidir el futuro de nuestros hijos, porque básicamente ellos lo están decidiendo.
And I'm open to thoughts from the community as well. So this isn't me driving everything, right? This isn't the Marysville Community Coalition people that are driving everything. It takes a community to bring suggestions to the table. Comes, share your thoughts. We'll take those when we can and see what kind of action we get.
Por favor, estamos aceptando ideas, pensamientos, todo lo que nos quieran decir, cómo podemos mejorar, cómo podemos hacerlo. En realidad lo que necesitamos nada más es unidad y poder estar comunicados. Entonces, cuando tengan alguna duda, una pregunta, algún comentario, alguna idea que quieran hacernos, aquí estamos abiertos para escucharnos.
So I have a question. I don't know the back end of the board, right? I don't know how they go over their budget, but I've been part of Marysville. But I've been part of 3 different budgets. And in order for us to solidify a budget as a parent committee, get a parent staff, I'll make an example, yes, when they wanted to have sports. I did that. And every single line item, you had to uncollapse it and go over every single from a gator that, Erickson wanted to buy versus 3 gators over at MP. You know what I mean? It was, so does the board get the collapse version of the budget when they say yes to this? Because anybody, I can't imagine anybody rushing budget, my husband at our house, would be looking like I was crazy. Yeah. So how do we get these budgets approved being so absolutely, blatantly, I mean, stare at me and just go, this is wrong. And not even have backup to it, to know it's wrong.
Lo que ella está diciendo y lo que está preguntando es cómo pueden llegar a ser estos presupuestos tan mal, ¿verdad? Si nosotros llegamos, ella dice que si ella llega con un presupuesto a su casa, su marido le va a decir que está loca porque está gastando demasiado. Más aparte, ella ha participado en 3 presupuestos. Puso un ejemplo de la canción de Getro, que ella es, así como por ejemplo para los deportes, ¿verdad? Ella quiere saber cómo ha llegado a este punto de tener el presupuesto. Ella quiere saber si los miembros de la mesa directiva del distrito son partícipes de hacer el presupuesto o simplemente les dicen, oh, este es el presupuesto y ellos tienen que acceder y decir si están bien.
So the question was, does the board get a expanded or, a total, a detailed budget? I don't really know, but what I can tell you is that from last year, when you look at the board docs, if you look into it, there are reports done for almost every purchase order where the board can go through and look at like what just were in, what was submitted, and how much money is going in and out of the general fund. But I don't know if that's still happening.
Hold on just a second.
Lo que ella es que ella no sabe, no está segura, ¿verdad? Pero puso un ejemplo que en otros lugares sí. So, lo que ellos hacían antes es que por cada cosa que ellos gastaban, ellos ofrecían un reporte. Entonces, están en los comprobantes de cómo se gastaba.
I was just gonna say that, the superintendent and, any other executive directors meet with the board, 2 by 2, so they don't. They can meet with one time. They will typically call them in. I don't know how long it is, detail this, but they present things to them and detail questions to the law prior to, or inform them prior to the work. But they do that with quite a few things on this.
Ok, fue un comentario que ella dice que el superintendente sí les presenta el presupuesto a la mesa directiva, a hacer con 1 o 2, depende. No está segura de qué tan detallado es, pero sí se los enseña y aparte de otras cosas que se les presentan a ellos. No sabemos si ellos toman la decisión, pero ahí pueden hacer de cómo está el presupuesto.
I want to just tell people that I didn't include the revenue on these documents, but if you go to that OSBI website and you look at the 23-24 F-195, you'll see on there that the estimated revenue this school year is so it's like $9 million more, but they're saying so they anticipate to get $187 million here, but they say that they're going to spend $206 million.
So ella no puso la información revenual del presupuesto. Ella dice que es 187,000. Esa información la pueden ver en la página de OSBI y lo que ellos han estimado es 206 millones, más o menos con 18 millones arriba.
All right, we have time for one more question or comment.
My question would be, do you really think you have a deficit or is
Su pregunta es si de verdad hay una deficiencia en el presupuesto o están escondiendo el dinero.
I don't know. I think that's a valid question, but I would not be conjecture.
so much you spend?
I'm not allowed to.
And I'm sorry for the folks that are online, the question was, do you think that we're actually, my answer is, I don't.
But how many people are
With that, I do want to thank every single person who showed up today, online, in person. Please share this information, keep the conversation going. If you haven't noticed, there is a paper on every table. Please scan that and make a decision if you'd like to sign the petition or not. We will hold some additional community forums to be determined what dates and venues will be for those. And if everybody could please give Elizabeth a wave up. And I would also like to thank this gentleman back here in the green shirt, Mr. Colton, for setting up technology. Without this, I wouldn't have a mic, we wouldn't have online streaming, we wouldn't have really nothing, so thank you. All right. Yeah. Okay.
So, nada más dijo que gracias, buenas noches, sigan apoyándonos, tenemos un código, lo pueden escanear, ustedes pueden hacer la decisión, no sabemos la respuesta, si en verdad hay una deficiencia o están guardando el dinero. Seguiremos aquí apoyando y cualquier cosa, pues muchas gracias por venir a todos y los que están en línea. Gracias.
Thank you again.